I was raised in a way where I was given the space and the freedom and the opportunity to take an interest in a lot of different things. And how exactly I became so interested in stone carving or stone cutting, I'm not sure, but it's also a larger interest. I really love a lot of the whole process of it, that it takes certain ingenuity and machines to accomplish the carving that I do, or the architectural details that we make here. Working with my father from an early age in masonry, because he did a lot of different kinds of masonry, stonework, brickwork. So I did start learning to use chisels and carve stone for walls and things related to what he was working on. And he really gave me that opportunity to learn how to use the tools.
I spent 40 years in New Mexico. I didn't grow up there, but that's where the business started, in New Mexico, near Albuquerque. There, we did a lot of stone projects for California or West Coast, and we did a lot of sandstone restoration. Well, the main reason why we moved to Indiana is that the shipping cost for getting blocks of stone from Indiana out to New Mexico was starting to rise. We started thinking, well, it might be better to be located where the stone is, where the material is, rather than shipping it all the way, to New Mexico and then cutting it up, having all that waste sitting in New Mexico, because there's waste when you're cutting stone. If you start with a block, there's probably anywhere from 25% to 30% of waste that you bought that you can't use in the finished product. So it does come down to economics.
Here at Kopelov Cut Stone, we carve limestone and other calcareous stone, and we do mostly carving and cutting for restoration projects and historical work, as well as monuments. And we specialize in historic textures, tooling, things that were done 100 years ago with chisels.
We definitely are into old world architecture as well as even the technology. I mean, we do use some modern tools, they are handy, but there's a look that you can only get from using the tools that were available at the time when some of this old architecture that you see around the world, and even in this country, you need to actually finish stone a certain way to get that look. So what I'm talking about is things like certain textures that were used on buildings. A lot of times these textures, they're not just for aesthetic reasons, because somebody thought it was beautiful. They actually also had a purpose. It created certain shadows on building, whereas if you just had a flat sawn surface, something like Indiana limestone, which is rather monotone, it would just disappear. So when you're standing 50, 100, couple of hundred feet away, it would just look rather flat and uninteresting. And a lot of the older architecture is interesting looking. I noticed this ever since I was a little kid. So I've always been attracted to old world architecture. My son Kino, he is as well. When we were trying to come up with a business model, I think it was pretty evident that that's what we were going to go after, what we were interested in, and where our hearts were. And that's why we do this.
So we start with the blocks or slabs, and then depending on the project, we cut it into sort of the overall shape with a little bit extra, depending on if we're cutting a molding or cornice, or if we're going to carve something, we have to leave a little bit extra. The project I'm working on now is a monument, and I did plane a rough profile on it, but then quickly I went to using patterns, marking onto the sides, and doing everything else with air hammers and chisels. With more decorative work, it moves quickly to handwork. From our saws, we'll usually set it up on banker tables, and then we'll have patterns to lay out shape we're going to need to carve, and then we'll go to chisels and air hammers.
The reason I do limestone is I just love the look of the finished product. It's going to last. I've worked in wood. It just moves around too much. It's not my kind of medium, but stone, it pretty much stays where it is. Some stone carver, some stone cutter would have had to have done this work thousands of years ago. They did do this work, just so that I have the ability to look at it. It's more a historical perspective. It's not just my lifetime. So I'm continuing the craft so that people can look at it, 100 years from now.